Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to Mark Anthony's Music Picks. Today is episode 96, and as the title suggests, this episode is going to be focused around my friends, the duo that make up Extrawelt. Extrawelt is a German electro-techno experimental duo that has been producing and DJing their own music since at least 2005, possibly a little bit earlier. When they do DJ sets, they're kind of like Matthew Johnson, where they do that live PA setup where it's like they play their own tracks and they play them in a unique fashion, and maybe they'll put a keyboard or some synths or some loops in there and kind of like work their own music into a continuous live performance. But I've never seen them play live. That's something that would be on my bucket list, along with Minolog and Matthew Johnson. You know, if you could put Extrawelt, Minolog, and Matthew Johnson all into the same party and let that party run for 12 hours, I think the people, the party goers there would be pretty ecstatic about that. That would be a pretty crazy lineup for me. I'm more into Extrawelt's productions, right? They're a German duo. They don't really come to the States as far as I know. I've never seen them on a card here in the States. So I don't know if seeing them live is realistic, but I do get to experience their music often through their records. And today I have a bunch of them that I'm going to go through with you. I was trying to narrow this down, and I was talking to Doombot about it. Which records should I pick? Which ones shouldn't I? And I decided to just go with all of the ones that I like because I couldn't cut the field down. I like them that much. The first record that I want to review for you is one that's near and dear to me, and this is their release on Border Community. Now, if you want to go back and check out my actual review for the Border Community label, I'll give you a link in the comment, or not the comment, but the description section below. I reviewed Zoofus because I really like Zoofus and I like the Mutter mix a lot. But for this episode, I wanted to switch over to Supertrack, which is not to be ignored. And I love Border Community because I love the art on these. There's something about the sound in the first 10 or 12 Border Community releases that's really special to me. If you listen to Supertrack, and check this out, it's got this cool little fish on it. I always like the fish jumping on here. If you listen to Supertrack, I think it grabs me right in the beginning with the intro. It's kind of got this catchy little percussion loop. I didn't put the percussion loop in the sample that I'm going to give you guys because the percussion loop is only featured in the track at the beginning and the end, but it's like this signature sound for me. Like it's one of those signature Border Community sounds where it's just like this weird sort of melancholy progressive house / techno fusion where like you can't really describe it. It's like almost a little bit faster than it needed to be, coming in at what, 130 beats per minute. So it's just kind of like this like ravey techno weird anthem that to me just encapsulates like my enchantment with the Border Community label. Like the same way that I feel about 80s records and how they take me back to my childhood, these Border Community records like Supertrack and Zoofus and the early Nathan Fake and the first James Holden records, they make me feel like a kid again, but I guess a kid that was in his late 20s when he first heard them. My next pick for you is Margot's Torch, and Extrawelt came in 2006 and did 2 remixes for this on the B-side. both of which were featured on John Digweed's Transition CD, which came out in, I believe, 2006. And I have to give credit for this to Doombot, because Doombot was really into Digweed. He's actually always been into Digweed, and he was super into the Transition CD. Like, he knows that CD front to back. And this is a track that he'll often bring up as being a shining star from that release. And I totally agree. It's got a fusion of 2005 electro and some of the tech house elements that were sort of creeping into the scene in 07 and 08. If you think of the label Electribe that I think Mark O'Toole used to release on, or Steve Lawler's Wasted Mix that came out in 06, or Ame's Reg. This is all in that era, and this is one of the most shining, brilliant records that ever came out in that era, and I think it's a little bit understated. I think you could go and get this on Discogs for some reasonable price, but to me, it probably should be priced more because it's a stone cold classic. My next pick is a repress that came out, and I've actually had this in my want list for a long time, and I just got the repress off of Juno. This is Tittle Held, or Tittle Held, however you want to say it. It's got this weird little chicken doll on the cover. This is on Cocoon Recordings. I would say a classic, and it's very fitting that it's on Sven's Cocoon Recordings, because when I think of Sven Väth, I think of that gritty, European, German, buzzy, distorted synth, and that's exactly 100% what you get in this track. And you know, you mix that in with some twinkly melodies, and the only thing that I can picture is if you ever watched Sven Väth's like crazy party videos where he's wearing like a sailor's t-shirt with a collar, and it's too small for him, and he's got biker shorts on, and he's hopping around in the DJ booth like a complete nut. This is the kind of track that Sven would be dancing like that too. So definitely check this out. There's two versions on this, the Tittle Held original, and then there's the FSK 18, which is basically just a re-edit and a rearrangement. It's a shorter, more compressed version, but still just as interesting. I can't say that one's better than the other, but they're both good. Now moving up to 2008, this was Extrawelt's first album, and what we're looking at here is the reissue. The original version has a full cover art version, and when Cocoon repressed it, they did the like a little bit toned down, I guess a little bit more budget version. The album here, I bought it just because I love Extrawelt. Like I kind of just wanted to have it as a collector. I'm not like super into the vibe of this, even though I like the tracks. It's not the kind of thing that I would DJ, except for the one track that stands out above all, which is the In a Dark Room. I really like the mood of that track. It's one of Extrawelt's more subtle efforts, and compared to the rest of the tracks on here, which are like a little bit more aggressive and electro and like super gritty and distorted, In a Dark Room is a little bit more laid back and low key, and I think it would fit more into an after hours kind of like hazy, like late in the morning kind of scene where you're just trying to chill and just create a mood. And moving into more modern times now, this released in 2020, and I've spent a little bit of time trying to decide whether I should buy it. It's Extrawelt's Greatest Hits box set. And if you were looking at this wondering if it's worth the investment, I can definitely tell you that you're getting some crazy bang for your buck on here. So if you like Extrawelt's sound, I mean, look at this track list. It's got them all. It's basically got everything that I'm going to talk about in this episode, but I didn't want to just do it all from the box set. My pick from here and my most useful purchase on here is the C1 Leopard. I really wanted the Leopard remix. The original is by Minologue. I'm a huge Minologue fan, and it's on Trom originally. Trom is it's mostly easy to get, but there are some Trom records. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. There's some Trom records like Dominic Yulberg, Gabriel Ananda, and this Extrawelt remix that are going for $40, $50, $60, or even $100 in some cases. So I wasn't going to spend that much to get it, but when I saw that the Leopard remix was on here, I was ecstatic, and it was like the thing that put me over the edge to buy this. I can comment that the box is like super sleek looking. I'll show you guys one of the records. It comes in a cool inner sleeve. Like it's just really sharp and crisp looking. Like I felt like I got my money's worth. A lot of techno albums and box sets, sometimes you're just like, this is kind of half-assed, but this one's not like that. So if you're an Extrawelt fan and you don't mind dropping $100, I think this would be one to get. And commenting specifically on the Leopard remix, I really like the laid-back trance feel to it. I think it's one of the tranciest Extrawelt tracks that I can think of. And the fact that I think that it's remixed off of a Minologue original, to me, it's just like I had to have it. And Extrawelt's been busy in 2021. I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but I almost bought this blind because I love the cover art so much. So you've basically got a mushroom that is got a fox nose on it, a fox ear, It's absolutely one of the trippiest drawings I've ever seen. And if you look into the fox's eye, there's a reflection of a moon and a mountaintop. It's just, there was just so much going on the cover. It was almost like I didn't care about the sounds, but I actually do like the sounds too. My pick on here is Automatic Acrobatic. It's one of Extrawelt's a little bit more electro releases. Extrawelt has I guess dabbled into electro more with their more recent albums, so the track durations are a little bit shorter. It has that classic electro snare, that little snippy quick little snare that's trademark and classic for electro tracks, and it's got the Extrawelt super distorted, gritty darkness to it. Like, this one's a totally mean record. And, you know, one of the other things I wanted to comment on, I think this is finally the first Watergate record that I actually bought. I keep seeing Watergate releases come out, and I always love the cover art, and for some reason, when I go and listen to them, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, there's nothing on here that I like. So let me know what you guys think about Watergate down below. I'm curious to see if anybody else has that feeling where it's like the tracks seem like they should be good, but there's like something missing at the same time. Maybe it's just me. But this one's a stormer, and I'm glad I picked it up. I also wanted to show this one to you guys. This is another 2020 or 2021 release. It's called Jet's New. Really nice cover art here. I really like the gray on yellow. And Jet's New is the track on the A side that I really like. It actually kind of reminds me of some of the earlier Extrawelt productions. I wouldn't be surprised if this was either influenced by or made back in 2007 or 2008. There's just something about some of the quick hitting bass stabs in it. It reminds me of 06, 07, 08, like Holden and Nathan Fake, the way that they would do their like dunk, like those like real quick energetic bass stabs. Like, that was like from that era. So it makes me wonder if this track was somehow just like made back then and lifted to now, or maybe re-edited or forgot about and resurrected now. But it's definitely got some punch to it. This is a little bit more on the techno side, but would really do well in a peak hour set. And my last pick, Extrawelt's most recent single, is this one here. It's called Gazelle flip. I didn't know what gazelle flip meant, so I Googled it. I mean, it could mean a gazelle doing a backflip in a cornfield somewhere or on a prairie, but it doesn't. It's actually a skateboarding move where you like flip the board up and it kind of does a helicopter spin and a barrel roll at the same time. Looks really hard to do. I'm not a skateboarder, so I had no idea what it was, but maybe Extrawelt are into skateboarding. The track is really interesting here. I don't know how to describe this. Maybe you guys can comment down below and let me know what you think about gazelle flip as far as what genre it is. I think it could be jazz influence, like some kind of swing bop vibe. It's really hard to pin down. It's got elements of electro, jazz, techno. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I like the little grindy shaker thing that kind of just gives it like a lot of energy. And it's not that fast, but it feels like kind of energetic and busy at the same time. So definitely an interesting record. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this. Please comment down below, make other Extrawelt recommendations. I'm always looking to add to my collection, much to the dismay of my girlfriend. But that's all. Take care and be safe. Peace.